Hi guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Mark Gallagher. I am a musician and guitarist based in the UK, and a while back I did a video that showed the development and the change that I made to my pedal board for electric guitar. And I thought that it was about time that, you've seen the process and how I've made it, but I wanted to show you what it sounds like, what the pedals are, and how they all sound. That's the idea of this video. So we've got all my whole pedal board, and I wanted to take a look at all the pedals individually in their current state, how they sound, and then also get some tones later on. For the sake of this, I'm going to be using the JHS 600 TGR. This is one that was loaned to me by their distributor, Hal Leonard. And yes, in terms of the amps, I'm going to be going through my Fender Blues Junior and the Vox AC10. So these are the settings of those amplifiers. The Vox has a 414 and a 57 mic in it. The Blues Junior's got a 57 mic in it. I've also got a couple of room mics at the back. And yeah, just going to give you the vibe of what I currently have. So the first thing we're going to do here is tune. I've got the Tom's line, I think it is. I don't know how you say it, but it's like some budget-ish, cheap-ish, real slimline tuner. And it does the job even if it is a little bit slow sometimes. So here's my guitar going through the board, but no pedals are active, just in both of these amps. Here's what it sounds like. That's a single coil sound from the neck pickup. I'm going to show the humbucker sound with the bridge pickup. This sounds like. So I can, with a humbucker, like make the Vox kind of work a little bit and have a bit of distortion to it. Next pedal that I've got in my chain after the tuner is the compressor, which I love. I have it as an always on kind of thing. So here it is without. With. I love this pedal because of the way, like, I just treat this as an always on fattener of the sound. So here it is without. Get a nice little bit of bass response out of it. And what's really important for me is that I've set it as kind of like a unity gain. And this is going to be the case with most of the pedals, because I don't want to fall into the trap of, oh, this is louder, so it must automatically be better. Like, that's crap. I don't want to find myself falling into that sort of trap, if you understand what I'm saying there. So we have that. And then the way that I've kind of set this, I've got the level being kind of chill. The attack's pretty fast. So if I was to, it's currently set to about 2 o'clock. If I was to bring this down, you get a really slow attack, I think. It kind of like grabs onto the note a little bit quicker, I think. Then the ratio control does actually have a bit of a volume difference here as well. And then the comp knob here is kind of like a threshold, I believe. So if I was to pull the ratio up a bit more, we'll have. You're seeing it compress a bit more. I'm going to go sort of a middle ground. If I try 9 o'clock here. So that's where we're at with compression. I kind of have it as an always on general fattener of the sound. I don't exaggerate the compression settings too much because I don't necessarily want to go into that like Dynacomp country guitar territory. Outside of the compressor, it then goes into the gig rig Quartermaster QMX10. So I've got a load of pedals that are assigned to individual loops. This is better from a like noise standpoint, so that I've got everything out of the chain that I don't want you to hear. So what we've got then, first in the chain is the Big Muff, the Electro Harmonix Big Muff Tone Wicker. This is easily my least favorite pedal on the board. I've spoken about this one in a previous video, and I struggle with it, but it's nice to have there. And here is what it sounds like at the moment. Let's do a quick test to see what the difference is between having the compressor off versus the compression on, because maybe the fact I have the compressor on does inhibit this somewhat. So let's have a look. So here it is with. You know what, actually I think it does sound a bit better without having the compression in before the muff. I have the tone knob engaged off because it's louder and a bit fatter. When I put it in, you lose all that volume. And then the Wicker I've got off. If I was to put it in, then you've got a bit more top end. But I find it sounds a little bit unruly, so for now I'm keeping it off. I'm going to be doing videos on each pedal individually where I like explore the different tonal options. For sake of this, I want to show off what I have of the pedals in their current state. Moving on to loop number 2, we've got the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. So this is a clon style pedal. I had a clon style pedal, which I really like the sound of, but I wanted a bit more out of it and I wanted something fancier. And that's why I got the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe, because the Tumnus sounds basically identical to the original clon. It's incredibly good. And then the Tumnus Deluxe gives you a 3-band EQ instead of just a control for treble. And here is what that pedal sounds like. Compression in, and let's turn the clon on. Gives you a bit more like just a little bit of a push is how I kind of like to use this, and it's how a lot of people do like to use it. And some people will complain because the clon as a pedal is like a hard clipping style thing, and it's got 2 gain stages and you don't get a lot out of it when you just treat it as a boost with not too much gain going on. And to be fair, like the gain is about 1 o'clock here, and then it's the level here which I'm kind of having as my overall output. So there's still some drive happening. I'll show you what that's like with the humbucker. Here's the bridge. Next up, we've got the Boss Blues Driver Wazacraft version. So I had a Blues Driver standard, and that was nice, but it was a little bit fizzy. And when I went to PMT, may that rest in peace, and I tried the Blues Driver and the Wazacraft version next to each other, even in just the standard mode, the Wazacraft just sounded a bit tighter, and I love it. So I've got it currently set to the custom mode, which is the Keeley mod, basically. And yeah, here you see the level is about 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the gain, and 12 on the tone. And here's what it sounds like. So I'm definitely not pushing this pedal as hard as some might, because the way I really like this pedal is, I've said before, I love the sound of a clont going into the blues driver. So here is the Tumnus on its own, and then I'll add the blues driver in. I love that. It just gives you so much fatness as a sound, and I love that. I could absolutely exaggerate the level and the gain a bit more in the blues driver, but I don't want to, because I don't want it to be too much, because I feel like the best way to use a couple of pedals in conjunction with each other is to not have them necessarily work as individual drive pedals. They work together. That's the kind of way I like to think about it. Next up, we've got the Wampler Paisley. So this is the Wampler Paisley Deluxe, which is some pedal that I can't remember the name of right now, but I'll flash it up on the screen. That's side 1. And then I've got side 2, which is the Wampler Paisley, which is based off a Ibanez Tube Screamer. It's based off of that circuit, but with a bit of extra something thrown in. And this is Brad Paisley's signature pedal, and Brad Paisley is like my favorite guitarist alongside Brian May, so I had to get the pedal. So I've got 2 different loops that are set up on the switcher for the 2 different channels here. So looking at side 1 first, and it is channel 1 of the Paisley Deluxe. It sounds like this. Middle pickup. Bridge pickup. I love that sound. So that one just feels quite fat. Yes, I've got this little fat switch enabled here, and I love the bark that this one has. Going into side 2 of the Wampler Paisley. So this is kind of like a Tube Screamer. I've got the voicing switch engaged, which is like a mid-cut, basically. The level is at about 10 o'clock, gain is 11 o'clock, and then 2 on the tone. Here is the Paisley 2. So the channel 2 of the Wampler Paisley sounds like this. Take the compressor out. I'll show you briefly what the voicing's like if I take that out. I prefer it having the voicing in because that mid cut kind of lets it sound a bit different from a tube screamer, which I'll get onto later on. While I'm here, I also want to compare the sounds of both channels of the Wampler Paisley. So here is channel 1. I feel like the channel 1 is one I generally I prefer lately. It's got a bit more bark to it, whereas the channel 2 sounds a bit like it holds back. When I put both of those in play at the same time, next up, loop number 6 in my Quartermaster is the Wampler Pantheon Deluxe. So I've already done a full deep dive video on the Pantheon where I've gone through all the permutations. So for sake of this, generally I go into channel 1. I don't have another switch for channel 2, so if I want to access that, I've got to press it manually myself. But I like this sound as a general, gentle, crunchy boost, and it's got a nice top end to it. Here is my neck pickup and the channel 1 of the Wampler Pantheon, how I have it set. I love that sound. It's just a really good pedal to have on as like a baseline thing before you start adding other gain stages to it. Speaking of other gain stages, we have my 6th drive pedal on the board. Yes, I know it's stupid because this is I've got 5 drive pedals with 7 channels of gain, and also I've got the Muff. So there is a lot of gain available here. But the next one is the JHS Bonsai. This is basically a 9-in-1 tube screamer pedal. I've already done a deep dive on that pedal and how I chose to set it. I've got it set to the JHS Strong mod, which is my personal favorite. It's got a lot of balls to it. The tone is set to about 2 o'clock. The drive is about 10, and the level is about 9 o'clock, and that sounds like this. Next pedal we've got is away from the world of drive pedals and adding gain. Now we're on to effects. So here we've got the Fender mirror image delay, which I got as this kind of more effecty kind of delay pedal. So here is the way I have currently set it. So it's a bit short, but it's got a few repeats to it, so it's not necessarily something I could strum all day with. But as a device to have on like a lead tone, I think it works quite nicely. So this one's got like, it's short, but it's got a few repeats, and I think it works nicely in that role. I have tried some, like adding a dotted eighth to it as well, can be interesting. I've tried some other longer delays where, like, you know, take the time knob here and bring it right up. In terms of the knobs, depth is about 11 o'clock, rate is 12 o'clock, feedback's on 2, levels on 2, and time is also about 2 o'clock. I've got it set to the digital type of delay instead of analog or tape, and then I've got the dotted eighth off and variation 1. There are a load of different permutations you can do with this, and this is the one that I've landed on for the time being, although I would like to do another video that like explores this in a bit more depth. But for the role of having a bit more of an effecty delay, I think it's pretty good. The next ambient effect we've got is chorus, and I like this one. I've had it on the previous board. It is the Boss Chorus Ensemble CE5. Sounds like this. It's pretty subtle in the way that I've got it on, where you can tell it's a chorus. But the level knob I've got set to about 2 o'clock. If I was to have it on full whack, so I like to pull it back a little bit. The rate knob I've got set to 12 o'clock because it can go a bit mad if I have it like much higher. Let's put it at 9 o'clock, see what happens. A bit vibey, a bit more out of tune, and then especially if you take it to its full extent. So I like to have it about that 12 o'clock kind of region. And then the depth, similar kind of thing. That's about 2 o'clock. Then you've got the stack knobs here, which are filter, so for your low and your high. And basically, when it's at the full position, you've got flat EQ, where it's not cutting any frequencies, and then you've got a cut when you are down at the bottom. And I've got both of these dimed. I've got both of those like on full whack because I like how it sounds. I like not losing those frequencies. Here's what that sounds like. Take the high all the way out. Take the low out a bit. So for me, I kind of like having that setting of like the flat EQ. I don't want to lose, you know, any of those nice frequencies. I like the warmth that I've got here. And it's fun because, yes, this is quite obviously a chorus when you are playing chords especially. But I like how it sounds when I stick a drive on that and then play lead lines. So let's stick on Paisley channel 1 with the chorus. It sounds like this. Chorus just adds so much more to it, and I love that about it. Last on the top end of the board is the reverb. I've got the TC Electronic Hall of Fame reverb. So both of the amps I'm going through, and matter of fact all of my amps, they have reverb in, but I wanted to get more of like a spatial effecty reverb for when the situation called for it. The reverb settings on my amplifiers are both like, they're always on, always there, but always subtle enough and not that overpowering. So I wanted to get a more powerful reverb to use for lead tones. Currently, I have this set to plate setting. The level is about 11 o'clock, decay is 11 o'clock, tone is at 3 o'clock, and then you've got a short pre-delay time. Here's the reverb as I've got it currently set. I'm not going to show you what the reverb's like on its own without the amps reverb because A, I can't be asked changing them and changing them back, and B, I want to show how this reverb interacts with the reverb of the amps. And this isn't my favorite reverb pedal. I think right now it can sound a little bit artificial. And I've been trying with things like lowering the tone a bit more, changing some of the settings, but I don't necessarily want to load up a spring reverb because what's the point? If I was to try, let's say, lo-fi mode, whatever this is. Sounds very tiled. If I go for a church, maybe. It's nice, it's extravagant, and it's nice as an option to have even if I'm not necessarily using it 100% all the time. It's nice to have that as an option as a nice ambient addition to the amps reverbs that I've got on behind me. Then, out of the Quartermaster, we go into some more pedals. We've got the 10-band EQ by MXR, and now it's on. We've got a slight cut at 16 kilohertz, we've got a cut at 31.5, and we've got cuts around 250 and 500 hertz, but we've got little boosts in like the 62.5, the 125 hertz range, a little in the 1 and 2 kilohertz range as well. Here it is with no EQ. EQ in just makes it sound better. That, the compressor, and another always on pedal that I have, we got the Blaxx delay, which I think is made by Stagg, and this is my always on slapback delay. Here is no delay. Here is delay. Gives a little bit of ambience, and I love it. So the delay time is set to about 9 o'clock. Feedback is about 11, and then you've got about 8 o'clock for the echo, which I think is like the number of repeats. Bring that up. You hear the echo volume a bit more. And yes, this is my always on things that I have here, and I love what these do. So the compressor, the EQ, and the delay pedal, they kind of step in and make this just sound incredible. They're like my always on make good pedals that I will have permanently on unless I'm doing something incredibly specific. And then out of the delay pedal, we go into one more thing. We've got the Marshall Vibratrem pedal, which I've got set as a tremolo, and it's just a nice little smooth bit of tremolo. Looking at the knobs, because I don't really pay much attention to this because it lives under the board, but for those curious, it's set to tremolo. The speed is 9 o'clock, depth is about 8 o'clock, and then the shape knob is about 10 o'clock. All those in conjunction with each other just make this nice, like, subtle subtle little tremolo, which I love. Just a slight wobble. So with those pedals all in effect now, my compressor, my EQ, my delay, and my tremolo as my make good pedals, now let's take a quick look at some tones where I start playing with various combinations of effects. Firstly, let's take a look at blending a couple of different drives in. Let's go with putting the blues driver and the Pantheon. So we've got blues driver and blues breaker sounds. Let's see what that's like. Christ, that's a bit loud. Things I like to do as well is throw a couple of drives in, like the Klon and the Paisley one, and get some fun results. Other things that you can do is get some clean tones by sticking a drive on and then just lowering the volume so that it cleans up. A good example of this would be the Pantheon, bit lower. And then add in these ambient effects like the chorus and the delay. And let's see what kind of thing I can get going with those in. Additional things I could do is have like a scorching lead tone and then throw an effective reverb on it and see what happens. Let's take the muff and the reverb. So I might not necessarily want to do that with a muff because it's going to be a bit unruly and I struggle with the big muff, to be honest. But taking a couple of drive pedals, stacking those and having the reverb makes for quite the lead tone. So I'm on a bridge pickup here. So you've got that humbucker thing going on. Here we go. Jesus. Oh, I love that. Right. Do the same kind of thing, just showing you the neck pickup so it's less unruly, less wild than having the humbucker in, but you're going to get a bit more clarity, I think. Middle pickup. Let's go like ultra clean, ultra ambient. Let's have just on the neck pickup here, and then let's stick on, we've got the always on pedals, but let's also stick on the delay, chorus, and reverb at the same time. Let's see what happens. Interesting. Let's see if I throw some dirt in there as well. How mad does that get? Let's throw Bonsai in here. I don't think it's the best choice for it, but... That's better than I thought it would be. Wow, okay. And lastly, while I'm here, let's just show you another like drive blend. Let's go from the clon, so the Wampler Tumnus, into channel 2 of the Wampler Paisley, which is kind of Tube Screamer S. Let's see what that sounds like. Bridge pickup. just fun, isn't it? And you've got so many permutations, not just in terms of like the pedals I can turn on and off, but also in terms of the settings here. I've got everything that I basically want. And yes, is this pedal board a bit much? Yes, absolutely. My thing was I reached like about 8 pedals and then I wanted to add more things, but I knew that I'd have to change everything about it. And that's what we have. And honestly, I'm thrilled with the results because yes, this might be a little bit like, you know, taking a nuke to an ant farm, but also it's so bloody good. Like I've got everything that I want here. I've got my fuzz. I've got 7 different drive sounds, like all those various flavors and the ways that I can change their settings and stack them against each other. I've got my always on make good pedals in the form of my EQ, my delay, my compression, and my tremolo. And I could exaggerate some of those things to make them more effecty, but in their current state, I really like what they do. And then I've got my ambience in form of like my delay, which I can experiment with a bit more. My chorus, which is in a nice like degree of subtlety as I currently have it. And then I've got the reverb pedal, which is giving me a lot of fun additional ambience. I've got everything that I want out of this pedal board, and I don't need any more. I certainly do not need any more drive pedals. Definitely. But that's it for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mark Gallagher. You can follow me on your social media of choice at Mark Gallagher Music, Mark with a C. If you want to support the things that I'm doing, you can also go to patreon.com/Mark Gallagher Music and you can make your pledge and get early access to other videos. I do plan on doing a few more videos where I take a deep dive into each pedal on its own. So this kind of looked at how I've got the pedals currently set, but I want to do videos where I concentrate on the blues driver, on the big muff, on the compressor, and I just really deep dive into the variant ways we can play about with their settings. Until next time, my name's Mark Gallagher. Thank you for watching the video. Like it if you want, share it if you feel compelled to, and follow me on places. I'll catch you down the road.